Hello and welcome to another Saints Live. I'm Steve Forbes.
And I'm Kenzie Benali.
And we're back for all the pre-match build-up as Southampton travel to the King Power Stadium to take on Leicester, with both teams still looking for their first win in the Premier League this season.
Well, a very warm welcome to all of you watching along at home, and it's a very warm welcome as well to our two guests, former Saints captain Dean Hammond and NBC's lead soccer writer Joe Prince-Wright. Lovely to see you both. Dean, great to have you back, and Joe, it's been quite a while. How have you been?
Yeah, it's been great. I had a really good summer. It's great to be back joining you guys, and been to the States for a little bit of downtime, but fully into the season now. Been here, there, and everywhere the first few weeks, and really looking forward to today's game and joining you guys again.
Oh, well, it's lovely to have you back. Now, we will be bringing you the team news in under 15 minutes' time. Before we do, though, let's get to the early team news. We do know, of course, that Lianco is back available, and Livramento and Pero are still out. Everyone else, to our knowledge, is well and fit.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, Joe, we'll come to you first as it's your first Saints Live of this season. Saints faced the Foxes today and did look much better in the last 20 minutes against Leeds here at St Mary's when Ralph made quite a few changes. So given that, how are you expecting the team to line up today?
Steve, I actually expect Saints to probably keep the 3-5-2 from the start. I know it didn't work too well going forward, but it did go in 0-0 at half-time against Leeds. It was pretty much job done defensively. But as you said there, the 4-2-2-2 worked really well late on when they were chasing the game. And I think having 5 substitutes for Ralph is a game changer for him. You saw how good Saints were during Project Restart when they could change things around. And it's almost like they have to play 2 different games within a game, right? It's the first 60 minutes, keep it tight, stay in the game, and then the last 30, go for it. But I do think they probably stick with that 3-5-2 just because it gives some of those centre-backs a bit more cover. And also with the situation at left back or left wing back where Moussa Djenepo, the only real option there right now due to injuries. I think that's probably the best play, but it will develop during the game and probably go back to the favoured 4-2-2-2. But I want to give some love to Moussa Djenepo as well. What a great start to the season he's had in a very unfamiliar position. So as a Saints fan, I kind of put them in the same bracket as Sofiane Boufal, Leandre Griffet going way back, Tadanari Lee, who Dean played with. They kind of have this status among Saints fans as these maverick and these entertainers. And for whatever reason, for injuries, loss of form, maybe not quite fit in the system, they've never really made their mark. But Djenepo's hung in there, hasn't played a lot the last few seasons, but great to see him take his chance. And I think he'll have a big role to play today.
Dean, what changes, if any, are you expecting to see this afternoon?
Well, I agree with what Joe's just said. I think there will be changes. I think it'll be more personnel than the shape. And I think it's just affected by the left back position. There's no natural left back. Could you play Salisu there? Maybe. Could you put Kyle Walker-Peters at a left back and maybe play Jan Valery at right back? Or Diallo at right back, who's done that before. But I think the manager will stick with the 3-5-2 for the moment. And like Joe said, he has the flexibility to change it during the game and maybe go for it if they're behind or want to try and win the game. But I think Aribo probably will come back into the team after coming on and scoring the goal and having an impact on the game. Will we see Mara from the start? I'm not too sure. I think the manager would like to continue to introduce him slowly, even though he had such an impact on the game with a fantastic assist and then nearly scoring late on. So interesting. And also, where will Stuart Armstrong play? I think if we do have the 3-5-2, I'd like Stuart to play more centrally. I think he could play within the 3 in the middle of the park. You know, Lavia kind of sitting there, James Ward-Prowse doing what James Ward-Prowse does, and then maybe Stuart Armstrong just bring that little bit more creativity in the middle of the park, being able to run with the ball and move Southampton up the pitch. So it will be interesting to see, because you could look at it from a different point of view and say, look, Leicester have already conceded 6 goals this season. Defensively, there is some insecurities there. They are affected there. I believe Fofana's not going to play today as well because of the interest from Chelsea, and he's unsettled. So you could look at it and approach, look, let's take the game to Leicester. Let's try and outscore them because they have a threat as well and they will create opportunities. So I'm actually really interested to see how the manager picks the team today. And what shape he plays because of what happened last week and how effective the subs were coming onto the pitch late on in the game.
Well, we will discuss last weekend's 2-2 draw with Leeds in just a moment, but first, here's the highlights.
Good afternoon from a very warm, summery St Mary's Stadium. And Saints can build again off a Leeds mistake. Nicely played off by Shea Adams. Nice pivot. And now Stuart Armstrong rushing. Was he caught? Did the defender get the ball? Llorente says he got the ball. Armstrong's down. The referee's having none of it.
It's a red card.
No red card. As he clears, and then Rocker plays it forward to feet. And good anticipation from Bella-Kotchap. Took it off Rodrigo and kept going, and then fires a shot just wide. What a moment from the 20-year-old German. Now, Leeds trying to play through the middle. They played a good ball to James, the substitute, who hits it. Good save from Bazunu. To his left, low. And they've got to get into the rhythm of the game again quickly. Cross low from the left from Harrison, and that is the goal. And it's taken less than 30 seconds for Leeds to take the lead. Outswinging corner for Leeds, possibly. It is. Outswinger taken to the near post and flicked onto the back post, and that's 2-0. And Leeds are up. And the celebrations with the Leeds fans at that end. And the ball again, maybe Rodrigo headed home from a flick on that was going in without his help. Good play from Adam Armstrong. Gets a return ball from Shea Adams. It's good. And he's in behind on the left. Low ball into the penalty. Goes past Mara. Here's Aribo. Past the goalkeeper. Scores! And Southampton are back in the game. Substitute Joe Rebo has a goal on his home debut for Saints. Here's Sekou Mara midway inside the Saints. Oh, that's a brilliant ball. Here's Walker-Peters from a narrow angle, and he scores! Oh, Leeds opened up by a bit of genius from Sekou Mara, the young Frenchman. Shea Adams chests it down, looking for a runner. Sekou Mara, left-footed, onto his right foot, blasts a shot from nowhere. 25 yards out on the angle and smashed it against Ilham Meslier.
There we go, highlights of last weekend's 2-2 draw against Leeds at St Mary's. Joe, it seemed like most of the action came in the second half of that match, but as a Southampton fan, what were your emotions coming away from it?
Steve, overall positive, I think, obviously, because the nature of the comeback, when you go 2-0 down and there's only 20 minutes to go, you don't expect to get anything. So that was a huge positive to see the resilience, the spirit, and the fight from Southampton. But I think the emotions were still concerns defensively. There's still a few big issues there to sort out because Leeds on another day had a couple of other big chances, could have scored 4 or 5. And it seems like the three at the back has been causing some problems over maybe players leaving it to one another to clear chances or not quite sure yet how to play in that system together. And defending crosses is an issue as well. You can see that from the goals that Leeds scores. But as a fan, I think we have to be patient this season. And we'll probably see a lot of games very similar to this, where there's some incredible moments and assists to set up great goals and great chances at one end, but a little bit of naivety at the other end. But we expected that with all these young talents coming in. But after the first few games, you can see that Bazunu, Bella-Kotchap, Lavia, Rebo, Mara, they all have quality. But it will take time, though. So I think Saints will be a fun team to watch for the neutrals, but might not be great for our hearts during the season. There's going to be a lot of thrilling games like this. But yeah, positive overall to finish the game the way they did. And hopefully that'll give them a lot more confidence, this young Saints team, as we go into the next few games.
Absolutely. Dean, Joe said there about our new signings having quality. Of course, Bella-Kotchap made his Premier League debut last week. How did you rate his performance?
I think it was a good start from him. Premier League debut, first game at home at St Mary's. He looked very, very strong. He looked comfortable in terms of possession. He was willing to have the ball, which we know the manager wants his centre halves to be comfortable in possession and willing to play out and drive into the middle of the park and make things happen. But he physically looked very, very strong. Got up to the pace of the game very, very quickly within the game, because we know the tempo of the Premier League is very, very different to any other Premier League. I love this bit where he steps in front, he wins the ball and he drives through the middle of the park, and you can see that he's got confidence in his own ability, taking that shot on. But he looks like an imposing figure, you know, really, really aggressive, wants to win the ball, wants to defend. It's interesting, he's only played in a 3 so far. What will he be like in a 4, in a flat back 4 with just 2 centre halves? But you see from these clips, he's very, very strong. Looks like he's communicated to his team. And like I say, confident in his own ability. And I think there could be a partnership there between him and Salisu. You know, both very young. You've got to remember he's only 20 years old. So there's going to be, like Joe's just mentioned, there's going to be some ups and downs in his form, like probably we saw from Salisu. And Salisu is maturing and getting better with experience. And I think this could be similar. But he was impressive. He looked comfortable. I think, which is the biggest positive I can get him. He didn't look out of his depth. Question mark over his positioning maybe for the first goal. But again, he's 20 years old. That will come with experience. So it looks like it's been really, really good recruitment from the football club. I'm sure he'll keep improving. And he's got a good manager to work under and good players to play with to improve each day at the training ground and in games at weekends.
Yeah, very promising so far. We did see a red card appeal in the first half, Joe, with Stuart Armstrong running through on goal. Dean said no red card. Do you agree, or are you going to challenge the great Dean Hammond?
Dean didn't think that was a red card. I mean, the only thing I can say is maybe Dean's a bit worried that he might get some kind of retrospective ban from some of the tackles he had in his career. But on a serious note, I did think this was a red card. I mean, he's clean through. I don't think the covering Leeds defender is going to catch it. And as we're seeing here, he got Stuart Armstrong first and then got a bit on the ball. I was at Tottenham Chelsea for NBC last weekend, and there's a very similar tackle to the one Bentancur had on Kai Havertz that caused a lot of controversy before the Spurs goal. So you can see Llorente goes through Armstrong first and then gets the ball. So I think he's already fouled him, then he gets the ball. And when this went to VAR, I really did think there was going to be a red card here. I was very surprised it wasn't. This honestly isn't a biased view as a Saints fan. I'm just looking at this objectively. Think it's a foul. He does get a little nick on the ball, but he takes out Stuart Armstrong first. So I think Llorente and Leeds must have felt very relieved when nothing was given. And that was a big moment in the game in the first half. So I think Leeds got away with one there, but maybe Dean maybe agrees with me now, but maybe he still disagrees.
I'm glad you're keeping it friendly. You're both smiling, even if you don't agree on that one. Dean, let's talk Sekou Mara, shall we? We enjoyed talking about him post-match last weekend. I mean, he made quite an impression when he came on, didn't he? Just how excited are you to see what he can go on and do in a Saints shirt?
Really excited, Kenzie. I want to be patient because, again, he's 20 years old. But he looked like he had that swagger as he came onto the pitch, that quiet arrogance. But he very, very confident, and he's got that creative spark, and he looks like he's willing to take responsibility with the ball. And he just made a huge impact, which is what you want. You want straight away when you come to a new football club, you're trying to prove yourself as a player, not only for a personality but as a player. And the way he come on, you're seeing here the trickery, the way he received the ball, the double drag back, and then the awareness for the pass and the weight of the pass as well. And he's not looking as he passes. It's that no-look pass. It's fantastic, really, really is. And the confidence to do that is brilliant. And he sets up that goal is fantastic, the equalising goal. And then his movement off the ball, you know, as he receives this ball and feints, checks back. I want to get this on my right foot because I know I'm going to strike it. Again, like I say, I'm going to take that responsibility on. I'm going to try and make something happen for my team. So, yeah, it was brilliant. It was great to see. And he just looks like he's technically very, very good. He looks like he's a good athlete, willing to run in behind as well, but also come into those holes as a number 10 and link play. But what I liked as well was just, I'm coming onto the pitch. I'm going to make an impression. I'm going to get my team back into this game. And he did exactly that. So, you know, fantastic. He looks like he could be really exciting this season.
Yeah, most definitely. Saints fans certainly seem to like the look of him. And speaking of Saints fans, let's take a look at what they're saying this afternoon. Great to see your comments coming in as always. Paul Minns, hello. He says, hopefully a 2-1 win for Saints. We've got a comment here from Clive. We have to win this one. Nothing to stop us. What else do we have here? One from Jeffrey Bennett. Hello. He's watching on YouTube. He says, come on, you Saints. Lakai Tizard is going for a big 3-1 win to Southampton today. Vishnu getting in touch as well. Hello. He says a 2-1 Saints win. Mara and Stu to score. And then we've also got a comment coming in from Daniel Pearce. He's going for the first clean sheet and win of the season. He's going for a 2-0 win to Southampton. So great to get your score predictions, but the question is, who is in the starting lineup? We can now bring you that. Let's take a look at the 11 then. It looks like a 4-2-2-2 formation. In goal, Gavin Bazunu. The back four, Kyle Walker-Peters, Armel Bella-Kotchap, Mohamed Salisu and Musa Gineppo. In the middle, our captain James Ward-Prowse and Romeo Lavia. Assumably Joe Aribo and Moi Elianusi out wide, with Adam Armstrong and Sekou Mara up top. Now the Southampton substitutes are as follows. It's Alex McCarthy, Jan Valery, Lianco, Jan Bednarek, Oriol Romeu, Ibrahima Diallo, Stuart Armstrong, Theo Walcott and Shay Adams. Joe, let's come to you first then. What do you make of that starting 11 to take on Leicester?
Very positive, very attack-minded. I think you can see a clear plan of action there from Ralph Hasenhüttl to get at Leicester's centre-backs. Obviously, they'll be missing Wesley Fofana. If they get in behind, they have shown a lack of pace. And with, Mara and Armstrong up top, I think you have a lot of pace there to hurt Leicester and get on the front foot early. In terms of Aribo coming into the team as well, obviously he was excellent when he came on against Leeds. And you can see there Ralph's rewarded Armstrong, Mara and Aribo after having a huge impact against Leeds United. Defensively, if it is Musa Gineppo at left back, that could be a challenge. I do remember one game a few years ago during lockdown, that kind of campaign where he played really well against Chelsea as a fullback and really dug deep and showed his worth defensively. Doesn't come naturally to him, so I think he'll have to have a lot of help in that area. But yeah, I do like it. I think Saints just look a bit more comfortable, don't they, playing in that 4-2-2-2. They almost go into autopilot in midfield and in attack. So, very positive start. And then you always have the option of switching to a different formation and some players like Shay Adams on the bench who can come on and help you change the game if you need to. So, yeah, I'm really happy as a Saints fan with that lineup. And Dean mentioned it before. This is a good opportunity to be positive and go at Leicester, because I think there is a little bit after their start to the season that they could be there for the taking today.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, both teams searching for their first win of the season. Dean, how positive are you feeling now you've seen that starting 11?
Well, the one thing I like, and Joe touched on it there, is that the manager has rewarded the players that came onto the pitch and made a huge impact. I think that's the only thing you can ask as a player. If I come on and make a difference, then I deserve to get another opportunity, and they've done that. Be interesting to see where Adam Armstrong plays, whether he plays up front or he plays on the left-hand side, because he came on and played on the left-hand side against Leeds, got an assist for Aribo's goal and looked really, really sharp out there. So that will be interesting. But really, really important, the two centre midfielders players today, that they play with some discipline defensively, because we have two really attacking fullbacks. We have a lot of attacking players on the pitch that you want to see them express themselves and be creative and go and try and win the game for Southampton. But it's going to take a lot of communication and a lot of demanding from the experienced players today to make sure that Southampton stay within that shape without the ball. But lots of energy in there. So I think I can see the manager looking, let's go and press Leicester. Let's go and put them under pressure. Let's create opportunities, because they are conceding goals. And let's see how good Leicester are today after a really indifferent start from there. And the pressure will be on them. There's a lot of expectation at Leicester, especially at home. Haven't started well. So, yeah, it's a positive team. So I could see a lot of goals today, to be honest.
Well, I'm sure Gavin Bazunu's not hoping for a lot of goals to go past him. He starts once again today. Joe, he's not had a clean sheet yet, but by all accounts, he has had a bright start to his career at Southampton. A different keeper than what we've had in previous years. What have you made of him so far?
Very impressed by him, Steve. I think he looked a little bit shaky early on at Tottenham on his debut at times, but that's to be expected. He's making his Premier League debut. It's incredibly young for a goalkeeper, 20 years of age. I mean, not many goalkeepers are playing in the Premier League at that age. What I like about him is he's very calm with the ball at his feet, which is what Ralph Hasenhüttl demands. He wants to have his goalkeeper playing out from the back, being that extra man. And he's also keen to come off his line, as we're seeing here as well. And I think the way that Saints high press, you need a goalkeeper who's willing to do that and come out and be the last line of defense, sweep up in behind. And I think it's been a really, really good start for him, even though he hasn't had those clean sheets. So as we're seeing here in these clips, especially against Leeds United, when he had this fine save from Daniel James down to his left, technically he looks like a really, really good goalkeeper. And I think, as we've mentioned with these young players that Saints have now, he's only going to get better as he continues to develop, get more experience. I think it's been a very promising start. And as you mentioned, this is the goalkeeper I think Saints have been searching for now for many, many years. I think they've had a clear idea of what they wanted in a goalkeeper. Alex McCarthy and Fraser Forster have done okay in the last few seasons, but this seems like a very good fit for the style that Saints want to play out from the back. And it's a really exciting addition when you think about some of the other teams who were linked with signing Bazunu, the fact that he wanted to come to Saints and take that next step in his career. Again, it just shows how much faith there is in the manager, his methods, and the club overall to get the best out of this young talent.
A quick word on the midfield today, Dean. It looks like Ralph is going to go with James Ward-Prowse and Romeo Lavia as his two central midfielders, although he might go for three. We'll wait and see on that closer to kick-off. What do they need to do today?
Like I touched on, Steve, I think they need to be very disciplined today, especially for the first hour of the game. Protect the back four, because I like to say that the two centre-halves could get exposed today because we have such attacking fullbacks. So you don't want to restrict Cole, Peters or Gineppo running forward, overlapping, carrying the ball, because that's one of their strengths, and they create so many opportunities for Southampton by playing that way and having that approach. So possession of the ball as well. I mean, Lavia's had a really, really good start to his Southampton career and looks very, very comfortable. I'd like to see James Ward-Prowse more in his natural position of playing a little bit deeper. I think he's been pushed a little bit further forward this season, but I actually think he's more of a threat from coming deeper. He has more touches of the ball. He can play his way into the game, and then he can make those deeper runs from midfield and get in the box or around the edge of the box, because he has the condition and the fitness to be able to do that. And then he'll have more involvement in the game. And we know when James Ward-Prowse is at his best, Southampton are a better team and at their best. So really important role for those two today. Discipline, communication, keep the ball, and really kind of dictate from that middle of the field, with and without the ball. Like I mentioned, dictate to other players that they need to get back in position, keep their shape, because we can't have all the players attacking all the time. I know it looks fantastic and it will be brilliant, but you're still playing away from home against a very, very good Leicester team who have good attacking players themselves, and actually are playing a little bit of a different formation this season, playing a 3-5-1-1. So they're going to have a lot of bodies in the middle of the field. So they're going to need some help, and the wider players to become a little bit more narrow. So yeah, concentration for the two in the centre midfield today is really important.
Well, Joe, let's talk about the attacking players. We're hearing from Adam Blackmore that he's suggesting we could well set up with a 4-3-3 formation with Armstrong, Mara and Aribo up top. If that is indeed the case, how do you see them working together, and what do they all bring individually to the team?
Yeah, I like that, because Dean mentioned it there. Armstrong looked really good down the left when he came on against Leeds and takes a bit of pressure off him, I think, maybe in those central areas, and he can have a bit more space. He's quick. He likes to cut inside on his right foot. So if that is the case, I think look for that from him. And Leicester, from their lineup, it looks like they're going to go really attacking today. So I feel like there'll be a lot of spaces for those wide forwards to get on the ball and run at Leicester's defence. Mara made some really good runs into the box, either to take away for Joe Aribo's goal there, other defenders. So he's always looking to get into the 6-yard box, drag defenders away. And then, yeah, obviously if Aribo is then maybe playing on the right side of that 4-3-3 up top, then he likes to drift inside and cut inside, as we've seen during his time at Glasgow Rangers as well. So I think as a trio, that blend could work pretty well. They could just change within the game though, right? They could go to one up top, two underneath, two up top, one underneath. It's very fluid, and it's good to have a lot of options, I think, just to keep teams guessing, because I'm sure Leicester are looking at that lineup and probably thinking, this isn't what we expected, and who on earth's playing where? I guess we'll find out in under an hour, but it's going to be exciting, and I think they all have good strengths that kind of complement each other very well. And as I said before, speedy. I think the one area where Saints can get in behind Leicester today is using that pace up top.
Our last trip to Leicester, Dean, was maybe one to forget for Saints fans. A 4-1 defeat on the last game of the season. Thinking back on it now, what could Southampton have done differently?
It's difficult, Steve. Last game of the season, both teams really didn't have a lot to play for. You'd have to say the first half was a bit of a non-event. But it's difficult because, the first goal, there's a bit of controversy behind it. Southampton are expecting the ball back. Then Lianco headers it, could he let it run through to McCarthy? then tries to head it back. So there's a mistake. So individual errors, which we know can always happen. But yeah, it was a game where it just came to life in probably the last 15 minutes. And Leicester just took those opportunities on the counter-attack when Southampton were trying to get back into the game. And that can happen when you leave gaps, when you leave areas with players like Jamie Vardy, with his pace, his direct approach in one-on-one situations, always going to be dangerous, as we see from the goal. We win back a penalty from Stuart Armstrong. Again, love it when Stuart Armstrong carries the ball and takes players on. The reliable James Ward-Prowse gets a goal back. But from then, you maybe expected Southampton to do a little bit more. And Perez actually scores 2 very, very good goals. You see from there, his technique is fantastic. But could the Southampton players get a little bit closer? And again, Perez free in the box from 8 yards out. Shouldn't really happen. But like I say, last game of the season, not a lot to play for both teams. So it was a game that you'd like to forget about, and a game that you think that the players will learn a lot from, and they can take that into today, because you don't want the same experiences. So when you've been beaten 4-1, learn from it, take it into the day, and try and put those little details right.
Well, we'll talk more about today's opponents in just a moment, but interrupting the Leicester chat slightly to bring you some more fan comments. Again, lots of positive comments coming in. Vishnal's pleased with the lineup. He says, great lineup. Jordan Nichols is going for a 3-2 win to the Saints today. Silent Piro on YouTube says, I'm hoping Lavia can try and get a goal. A comment as well from Magnus. He says, come on, you Saints. Let's see who else is getting in touch. Michael Stretch is going for a 2-1 Saints win as well, which is always great to see. Joe, let's get back to talking about Leicester then. Obviously, both teams with just the 1 point from the 2 games so far this season. What have you made of Leicester so far, and where do you think they'll finish up in the table?
Yeah, it's a really strange start to the season and a really strange summer for Leicester. Obviously, Wesley Fofana looks like he may go to Chelsea. Yuri Tielemans looks like he's going to leave soon. James Maddison's had a lot of interest. They've only signed 1 player, and they've also lost their captain, Kasper Schmeichel. So it's a really tough situation for Brendan Rodgers, I think, because it's difficult to gain positive momentum when there's a bit of doom and gloom around the club, given all the success they've had over the last few seasons. So that said, they have a huge squad, a lot of really good players in that. They got to the Europa Conference League semi-finals last year. They've obviously finishing in the top 8 consistently and overachieving, you'd say, and just it's difficult. I think where I expect them to finish is probably just below those European spots. Again, I think they're not going to be in a relegation scrap at all, but I think they might just take a step back this season, maybe be in and around, the top of the bottom half of the table. Because I think the likes of Newcastle and Brighton have spent well, they've strengthened, and they've kind of overtaken Leicester a little bit, but they're still a very good team. They're kind of just doing a decent job of just being steady. And Brendan Rodgers, I think this is a season of consolidation for him, given some of the financial restrictions it looks like the club is placing on them after years of really spending big figures for a club of Leicester's size and strengthening that squad. Now it looks like they're going to keep that squad together, which isn't that exciting for fans when they always want to see new players. But I think for Leicester, they'll be fine. They'll be mid-table, probably have a couple of good cup runs. And it'll be interesting, but they're going to be exciting. Like we said before, I mean, conceded 6 goals in their opening 2 games of the season. They've scored 4, so expecting a lot of goals today, to be honest, and for Leicester throughout the season.
Yeah, Joe mentioned it there, Dean, with Brendan Rodgers being slightly hamstrung in the transfer market this window. What do you make of him and the job he's done at Leicester so far?
Well, in all honesty, Steve, he's done a brilliant job. Let's be honest about it. 2 5th-place finishes, just missing out on the Champions League. He's brought European football back to the football club. He's won the FA Cup. Joe touched on, he's brought a more exciting, attacking football to Leicester City, which is what they always wanted. He's brought younger players through from the academy. Harvey Barnes, Kieran Dewsbury Hall was a fantastic talent. He's put them into the first team. He's improved players that he's brought in, Tielemans, Fofana, James Maddison, that have got huge value to the football club now. So the problem he has, because of those achievements, he's raised expectations, and there's a lot more pressure on him. But I think he's done a brilliant job. I speak to some of the players. His man management skills are fantastic, and the players love him, and they've shown that. So injuries last year were difficult for them. European competition, I think they identified that to do better in, and they fell away in the Europa League. The recruitment on a couple of other players have struggled. Patson Daka, Sumari as well, has not quite happened for them. And you've got to look at it, the older players that achieved such success in winning the Premier League are not at the football club anymore. I think there's only Jamie Vardy and Mark Albrighton that have left. Kasper Schmeichel has just left the football club. So it'll be interesting to see how they do this year. But I think if you look at Brendan, there's a little bit of frustration in him because he's a very good manager. He's a top manager. He's managed at big football clubs. And I think if you look at his past interviews, he expected a little bit more this summer. He talks about rebuilding the squad, bringing players in. I think he was quite excited about that, and it's unfortunately not quite happened. But he's a brilliant bloke, brilliant manager, because he never moans. He just gets on with it. So he's done very, very well at the football club.
Well, Joe, with everything we've discussed so far on the show in mind, what's your score prediction for the match this afternoon?
Oh, a lot of pressure here, Kenzie. I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw again. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. Defensively, both teams are still trying to figure it out. Going forward, they're both very strong. So yeah, 2-2 draw, and I would take that as a Saints fan away at Leicester. It's always a tough place to go. And hopefully Mara can get on the score sheets. I think that would excite a lot of Saints fans to see his potential. So I'm going 2-2.
Okay, 2-2 from Joe. Dean, a slightly more attacking lineup from Saints today. You maybe swinging towards a win?
I am going to go for a win, Steve. You're right, mate. I am. Just because of that, the selection of both teams, I think there's going to be goals today. Or at least there's going to be lots of opportunities, and it'll be quite an open game. I think both teams fancy their chances in winning. I think the Southampton players will be very, very high from the last week, which will feel like a win. And I'm sure they prepared very well for this game. And Leicester will want to get a victory, after being 2-0 up against Brentford and then drawing 2 in their first home game this season. They'll be expecting to win today. So I'm going to go for lots of opportunities, entertaining game, but I'm going to go for a 2-1 Saints win.
All right, there you go. Dean, Joe, thanks for your thoughts as ever. We look forward to catching up with you a little bit later on. Thank you to all of those who have tuned in with us on Saints Live today. Of course, we will be back at full time for the final whistle when we'll be talking about all of the major talking points from the match. You don't want to miss it. See you then.
See you soon.